Hi, Simon. It's good to hear you.
Hey,
It's good to see you. It's good to have you here.
hey, I'm excited. I'm excited to see where this goes.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. It's a stunning day out today. Excited to get out a little bit later and surf. So it's a
Yes.
fun day. Just got to
Yeah,
get my work done.
amazing. That's great. I've got a similar plan as well. Got to keep that work-life balance. Well, that's what we're here to talk about today as well. So, yeah, Simon, you are an incredibly inspiring person for me. I have been listening to your podcast, which is over a year old now. You've been featured on the top 20 podcasts in the world with a podcast that's only 1 year old. I'm like, oh my God, this is epic. That's awesome. So your podcast Nourish Life is also focused on well, you're probably a better person to explain what it's about, but I just find it like incredibly inspiring, all things life and well-being and just optimizing our performance. Is that about right? Or
Perfect. Look, for me, it's how we do one thing in life is how we do everything. So to live an optimally healthy, fulfilled life requires us moving every single area forwards together and not just one. I
mm,
think the inspiration, it kind of falls really well in suit with this interview is again, it's burnout, isn't it? I think burnout comes when you become very two-dimensional and you focus on one thing.
mm,
I think you really have to keep your eyes on all of the areas and move them forward. So effectively, that's what the Nourish Life show is. It's just bringing in world leaders, experts, authorities, people who've got
mm,
inspiring stories just to share their ways and give people the tools to help them transform their lives, scale up the businesses, amplify relationships, deepen
mm.
connections. It works. It's all there. Nourish Life.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for this is an unpaid ad, by the way.
Yeah.
But it's fantastic. Okay, well, so let's get into it. I feel like you're, such a multi-dimensional person. You're an entrepreneur, you're a creator, you're a podcaster, you're an investor. So you're really out there. And as far as I sort of know from, knowing the short version of your story, you have lived in the old world, in the traditional world that most of us have burnt out from. So really, I would love to talk to you today. Yeah, like how did you even like get to the point of burning out? What happened? And then, getting through your story, sort of understanding what were the things that helped you. And yeah, like what is your sort of like successful toolkit that you work with today? And
No,
then expanding on that and seeing like, from what you learn from others, what else could be beneficial. So
totally. I
yeah.
think what I'd like to do is pre-context my burnout, because I think I can make it a lot more
Mm,
relative. Is people have different forms of burnout. I definitely did. I've hit physical burnout as an
mm-hmm,
athlete. I've hit emotional bankruptcy or emotional burnout in a job I despised,
mm-hmm.
and a life I was living I despised. I was physically okay, but I was emotionally not good.
Did you
So
always did you always despise the job or only at the end of it?
it just wasn't the right thing. I knew all along. But this
Mm,
kind of like throws itself into that form of burnout. But I think there's quite a few different forms of burnout. But for me,
mm-hmm,
I actually think burnout is resistance of what's currently happening. I think it's a red flag, be it physically, emotionally, fulfillment, like health. I think
mm-hmm.
burnout comes in different forms, and I think it's a symptom of resistance to something that's happening.
Right.
So if it's physical, is it a symptom of exhaustion? If
Mm,
it's disease, is it emotional, which is showing itself in health? So I think people have different forms of burnout, and I really think the big thing is identifying which one yours is. So as an athlete, I hit physical burnout quite a lot
mm-hmm.
because I was just running my
Yeah.
body into the floor constantly. My background was I was a high performing athlete, so I was
Mm,
constantly like, I can do everything. I've got to keep going, X, Y, Z, and at the sacrifice of myself. So that's how I hit that aspect of burnout. As an entrepreneur, I built businesses. I've done things where it's not necessarily been the right thing, but again, I've sacrificed myself to keep those things going.
mm-hmm,
And that's how I effectively ran myself into the ground on that.
mm,
But I think burnout, be it mild or be it extreme, really serves itself as a red flag that something needs to change. I think the longer you ignore that burnout is happening or you're in the earlier stages, the more it's going to snap you, or the bigger the symptom will be in the future.
Right.
So I always think everything echoes itself into the future. So right now, if you're feeling tired, you're feeling like you're not on the right path, something within you is like, something needs to change, and you're not doing that, I think burnout will come as a result. And the longer you suppress and you keep trying to go and you resist and you keep forcing things, that's when the burnout symptoms become more and more and more. So if I actually look at my own story there's lots of different forms of burnout. And the biggest correlation I can give you from speaking about it is when I knew I was burning out and the longer I kept fighting, the longer I kept resisting the fact that I needed to stop, the worse the end thing was. Was it a health issue, a business fall down, team members leaving, opportunities lost? So I think it's a very multifaceted topic, is burnout. But I really think it's really bringing it to yeah, massively.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. Wow. So you actually are a burnout athlete in a way, like having gone through so many. Yeah.
But it's common. I think humans, there's a few things. Like, number one is we like to do everything ourselves. I think there's a mental shift in actually surrendering to a moment and being able to ask for help, bring in teams, relinquish control.
Yeah.
I think that can drastically help people. I think the ability to have conversations, get a little bit uncomfortable, can help people stop hitting burnout. And I also think, for me, if I'm brutally honest, not being good enough was the real bottom of, it was probably the underlying pin. As an athlete, I'd overtrain because I didn't feel good enough.
Yeah.
In business, it was kind of like a bit of an ego thing, but again, I didn't feel good enough. So I was like, everything has to work. I have to over amplify what I'm doing to make it good enough. So for me, when I really look back, I think that was really one of the fires that was driving that engine to burn out.
Yeah. That makes me really think about two things. So first is like, have you ever thought about the impact of the environment where you grew up? If that had any impact on, why did I feel like I wasn't enough? And then if so, if there were some specifics to it, what is your opinion on, like, so many people actually burning out these days? Like, as of last year, there was almost 50% of working people in America, like, they did this study, and they're having symptoms of a burnout. So it's becoming an epidemic, actually a real one. So what do you think, like, you specifically, but also, like, is it possible that we all feel like we're not enough, and why could that be?
I think everyone's going to have that. The thing is, I love about these questions, and when I do these interviews, is it's one of those where the answer is always going to be, it depends. It depends on you.
Yes.
I think what we need to do really is understand that we're not burning out because of things external. Our burnout is caused by something that's going on for us internal. We're either not listening and we're keeping going. So for me, my environment, yes, was a huge contributor to that. My entire life, from being 3 to whatever age it was, I was being judged on not bending a toe. So that being reinforced for years and years, and nothing was ever going to be good enough, ever. That's what was there. I think what we need to do really is bring it home. And like I said at the beginning of this interview, is how we do one thing in life is how we do everything. If, for example, we speak to the corporate people, it's a very easy position to become either one-dimensional or two-dimensional, where you just go all in on the business, but forget about everything else. And the thing is, when something's not right, resistance is subtle until it comes to a point where it tips and slaps you.
Yeah.
So if you're going all in on the business, you're neglecting your health. You're not taking rest. You're neglecting the relationship with your kids. You're neglecting your love connections. You're neglecting family. You're neglecting the real things that matter. Because you've gone all in on business. Eventually, those things will get louder and louder and louder until it forces you to snap. So I really think burnout, we have to understand what are our patterns in getting that, but also look, what are we taking our eye off the ball, which is creating some form of subconscious stress, which, even though we might not be fully aware of it at the front of the brain, somewhere deep within, it's like, you're putting all your effort into the basket, but you really feel guilty that you're not spending time with your kids. There's always more to the story. And I think what we need to do on this topic as humanity is unfold ourselves, like, and really just take a moment to stop being in our lives and working and constantly trying to push the ball forward. Just stop, get some form of stillness and come above and look over your life and ask yourself questions like, am I happy? Is this what I want to be doing? Do I see myself doing this in a year? What's my life going to look like if I continue doing this? And I think between awareness and asking the right questions, you will find very quickly why you keep hitting burnout. I did.
Interesting. I'm just going to interject with a little bit of my story before we move on to the treatment and how we got out of this, to the positive side of things. Like what you're saying makes total sense. But, you know, like when I think back about my experience with burning out, like I was so committed to my job and I was putting so much effort into it because it was my identity. That's where my worth was. That's where I was validated. And, you know, I became addicted to it in a certain way. So I was actually voluntarily giving up on all the social life and love life and all of those things because I really wanted to prove myself there. And I didn't think anything was wrong with that. I was actually proud for being so busy. I was proud for telling my mom that I need to put, you know, a calendar invite for us in 2 weeks in order to talk. So it's this kind of a, you know, I don't know if it's a rat race. It's just so much pressure and you kind of get into it and it's all hype and it's kind of cool. And yeah, I just feel like when you're in it, where you really, for me, like the interesting part of a burnout is in the lead up to it. It's where we can really make a difference, but it's really difficult to realize that things might be going wrong when we're there and we're excited, you know, like even when there's like some first symptoms, we just kind of like take some painkillers and stuff like that. So how do you get those people, you know, to necessarily like go on a yoga retreat and start thinking about balance?
The key thing, I love this quote. It's something I find myself saying in the majority of interviews right now is like, when you're inside of the jam jar, you can't look outside and read the label. When you're in it, you don't know. It's just like a lot of people don't realize that their environments are actually hurting them.
Yeah.
Until you take a break, go on holiday, and you get to look externally inwards and go, oh shit, this is actually not serving me. This isn't good. So I really think if you know at some level, if there is a symptom that something isn't right, be it in any area, I implore you to stop. And it doesn't necessarily have to mean go on a yoga retreat. Stop, leave the phone at home and go for a walk in nature. Just think, connect, build the relationship with yourself and listen to what's actually coming through. I went my whole life being busy and distracted. I was always chasing something and I never just took time to be still. And it was a real skill I struggled to learn, which is getting completely still to listen, which allowed me to build a relationship, but it allowed me to go like, ask those questions. Who am I? What do I want? What's serving me? What's not serving me? Who are the people that I'm around? How are they helping my life? Is this job I'm in helping me or is it crippling me? Is this what I want to be known for in my one opportunity at life? And you really get to start working yourself out. And I think one of the big things I think my profile blew up was I'm very honest. I genuinely think it, well, I don't think it took me to the age of 25, 26 to know who I was, what I wanted and what I want out of life. And that was at the root of a lot of anxiety and depressions. Everyone in my school knew what they wanted to do. I struggled with academia. I didn't, but that was never my destiny. I was always destined to create things and help people. And that job role never existed. So this is what I'm trying to say is like the resistance for me in working for the people was because I was never supposed to do that. So I was always trying to fit myself into a box, but I didn't know what box I fitted myself into until I took myself away from the box and looked at the box and went, that's not me. So what, in short, long story short, is what I'm trying to say through all of that. The best signs is to just step away and look in. A lot of the people wait for a holiday, but it doesn't have to be like that. It could just be a case of getting still. It could be meditating. I mean, for people like us, I think surfing is a brilliant thing because you can't be on your phone. You just get to think. You get to think.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I think you've got to find your thing. Some people it's riding bikes. Some people it's definitely not meditation. I had a lot of struggles trying to meditate. I spent a lot of time thinking I was meditating. And then when I went and learned from Buddhist monks, I was not meditating. Do you know what I mean? So you've just got to find your thing. What allows you to ground yourself? What allows you to go up to 30,000 square foot view and ask those questions? What allows you to look up life?
Yeah, I love that. And I love how you're bringing this positivity into it, which is, you know, very close to my heart and my mission as well. Would you actually say that burnout, like, it's meant to be, and it's perhaps even allowing our generation to bring more balance into life? Whereas, you know, previously we would be really chasing things and not looking outside of it. But now, thanks to burnout, we have all these opportunities to notice and connect the dots.
Well, burnout is a symptom. It's a symptom of a root cause. Like, that's what it is.
Thank you.
So what is the root cause? Yeah. So burnout doesn't just happen. Burnout comes because of something. Let's use this example. If you don't brush your teeth once, like today, you know there's going to be no problems. Your teeth aren't going to fall out.
Yeah.
But that little habit, if you don't brush your teeth over the duration of 3 years, even though it's only something small that takes a minute of your time, what happens to your teeth? You got a problem.
Yeah.
So I think burnout's the same thing. You've got to find the root cause, because it might be something small, which is echoing now, but if it's left unattended, the echo gets louder. It's louder. And if you look at all the new research with disease and cancers and all that sort of stuff, and you look at the connections between emotional health and disease, you suddenly start to realize that not only a bad diet is one thing, but your actual emotional health is manifesting itself in the physical body as well. So I really think it's multifaceted. Like, it'll affect relationships, it affects everything. So burnout starts with you. You have to become aware of what you're doing. You have to look inwards and go, these are my habits, these are my behaviors, these are my thoughts, these are my feelings, and address these things, because burnout's going to only become as a repercussion of that.
Totally.
Is it boundaries? Are you saying yes to every work? Can you cover my shifts? Yeah, I've said yes to 8 people this week. What are your boundaries? Yeah.
That's one of the biggest things, right? Like, why some people burn out and some don't in the same environment. Totally. 100%. Beautiful. Oh my God, I'm loving this. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the things that you've tried. So here's Simon. He's living, you know, in the old world and he's feeling shit. So, what did you do? How did you even, you know, start realizing things went wrong, and what did you try to do to make yourself feel better?
Really, honestly, it started with me with anxiety. I had chronic anxiety. That's pretty much how it started. And I'm not going to say unfortunately, because I realized it didn't work, but I was young at the time and it led me to go down the medical route, which was I was subscribed a pill. I was subscribed a pill that lowered my energy production and damaged my mitochondrial health.
Okay.
So that was great. The pill worked in the short term, but in the long term, I really struggled. I think it actually led to depression, to be honest, as well. It led to a very low state of energy, and I always really struggled. I had to force myself in the morning to wake up, and that's not who I am. My nature's a very energetic, like a Labrador, very like that.
Yeah. I could see that. Was there some kind of a beta blocker or something like that? Do you remember?
That's exactly what it was. Exactly what it was.
Yeah.
But that was how it started, and it didn't work. It helped in the short term at the time, but then actually beating anxiety was more of a mental game for me.
Yeah.
And do you know what the biggest thing I noticed about anxiety was? My environment. What is triggering this? Why is this triggering it? Who am I around that is causing this? And again, unfolding those questions help that. So that was point number one, which I was 16 at the time, and actually becoming aware, like asking questions, like asking why, really allowed me to unfold that. So that was point number one. And this is again why I'm such a big advocate on like self-inquisition stuff.
Wow, that's epic. You were 16 and you were diving into self-awareness at that
Well, that's
point?
what kind of stepped me into looking at self-development books, even though I wasn't to the extent where I am now, but I started looking into things. And my issue is when I have a purpose to learn, I get really geeky on it. So then I started looking at health. I was like, okay, now what's happening? So at the time I had different health issues that were showing up because obviously my state was scarce anxiety. I was always in fear. I was always expecting to be attacked. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So then my health started to go downhill. I had no energy because I was burnt out. My adrenals were going all the time. I was burning out at work, X, Y, Z. So then I looked at health, like how can I optimize myself? Also, at the time I was in the health industry. So I was always looking at ways to be a better person healthily. What can I do for my nutrition? I really think that's a big thing. You've got to have all of those nutrients in your body to be able to perform at your best and have the energy, because let's look at it. Burnout comes when you've got low energy as well. So that's another manifestation of burnout is exhaustion.
Yeah.
And that's again what led me to another state of that, which wasn't necessarily training, but as a buildup of taking beta blockers and not having a great diet, drinking, let's be honest, maybe some drugs, whatnot, that actually led to that physical burnout.
Yeah.
And then as I started becoming more entrepreneurial and getting that hunger to create and help people, it led to time burnout. My biggest thing in life is to help people. I couldn't say no. I had something where I could help people, but I wasn't helping myself. I wasn't taking time to refill my own cup, to rest, recharge, get still, do my self-inquisition stuff. So at the same time, that happened then. I dropped my own barriers, my boundaries. I opened myself to the world. I was helping everyone else and I was giving, but I wasn't ever taking back. And the best analogy I like to use of this is if you're a giver, it's like having a jug with water that's got holes in it. To keep that jug giving, you've got to be putting water in the top.
Yeah.
Which, if you use that analogy, is resting, eating, hydrating, taking time, taking a break, taking a day off, setting boundaries, saying no, doing things to plug up the holes where the water's escaping.
Yeah. I love that you actually sent me a note on Monday saying that let's do this interview some other day because, this is what's happening, need a rest day. And I felt the same. And I think, I have gone through the same route, just realizing this and actually not feeling bad for, rescheduling or saying no. In fact, sometimes it works better for the other person too. So like it did in our case. So, right. Yeah. So in terms of that treatment, so basically you became self-aware, you started looking at the diet, so you made some changes, take some rest, saying no. Is that what you were doing?
It's a full holistic thing, but I think that's half of the battle. I think this is great that I've been doing all of this stuff, but I think having the courage to say, we don't like to let people down. No human likes to let people down, because our biggest drivers are we want to feel like we belong and we want to feel like we're helping people and loved and connected. And that's the thing. So I think a lot of people just sacrifice themselves because of these fears, where if you just would say, like I said to you, like, hey, bit of a manic week, I need to take some time out. Do you know what I mean? People understand that. But then I'd ask the question, if this person is giving you a hard time or calling you selfish for actually trying to help yourself and help your own mental health, then you need to ask yourself about the people who you're around.
Yeah, totally.
Because you shouldn't be made to feel bad for your own health, your mental health, your emotional health, taking back, or just being honest.
That's gold. That's awesome. Thank you for that. Yeah. So your life at the moment, how is Simon Hall optimizing, balancing his life in order to have the jug full all the time? What are you doing currently? How do you live? You've got so much on. So what's happening?
Look, I created my life's been created in a way that I can help people and keep myself happy. If I'm happy and I'm fulfilled, I can help more people better and I can do more. So for me, I jumped. I don't recommend people do this, but there came a point where I was like, I have to hit the hard reset button. I was like, I'm not enjoying doing these businesses. I'm not enjoying what I'm around. For me, one of my biggest issues was England. I really struggled in England as a country. The energy, the way I just struggled to express myself, and it just wasn't the right place. At that time, I was speaking all over the world. And then when I returned back to England, I just felt like someone got my volume button and just turned it down.
Interesting.
So for me, something intuitively was like, look, you're always performing at your best, and things in the business and what you're doing seem to work better when you're not in that environment.
Mm-hmm.
So I just said to my parents, I was like, I'm going to do something. This is stupid, but I have to go and do it. Which was like, but I just need to know, because at the time I was quite young. I was like, if this doesn't work out, am I okay? And that's all I needed to know. I just needed some permission slip that there was a little bit of a safety net if I took this risk on my own life. If it fell out, that I could stay somewhere for a couple of nights while I work things back out.
Yeah.
Obviously, it never got to that point, but I think as humans, we look for the worst situation, and that's usually what holds us back. And that was it for me. But I just hit reset, packed my bag, disappeared, got a plane ticket, ended up around Europe, went to a lot of different countries, and effectively, as I started building my life as I wanted to live it, the snowball started to roll, and it built more momentum. People got attracted to that. I was living my own life, like on my own path, getting up, speaking to the people that I wanted to speak to.
Yeah.
I took control. I took control. I said no to everything that wasn't working. I shed everything that wasn't working, and
what
went
did you?
all in. Did.
That's awesome.
And that's how it's led to this today.
Yeah.
Basically.
So what did you notice energetically? Because the way you talk about it sounds like a lot has changed in the way you felt, right?
A lot's changed. Like I say, it was a harsh reset. It literally was. I walked out on who I was and my life at that point. It was all wrong. And this is what I was trying to say to you is burnout a symptom of resistance? Is it a red flag? For me, when I actually started getting still and asking those questions, I'm not happy with what I'm doing came up. The person who I'm being to the outside world isn't really who I am. I actually didn't really know who I was. So I was like, shit, this is a big thing. So that was a point. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, myself, the question is like, is what I'm doing for work now actually what I want to do? The answer is no. It's like, what do I really want out of my life? I started to ask those questions. And then suddenly when I realized that this is the goalpost, but this is where I am, this was so far off track from this that the only way to even get at the starting point for this goal was just to sever everything. I was in unfulfilled social circle. People were trying to pull me down all the time. I was in where I'd created a home in England wasn't the right place. The job I was doing, as much as I loved helping people, it wasn't the right way of helping people. And I was actually resenting doing what I was doing because it wasn't the right thing, what I knew I wanted to do. So that form, even though it was a good thing, wasn't still the right thing. That was creating some form of stress. So this is what I'm trying to say. It's just, you can really start to unfold when you become aware and ask questions. And you've got to work out, like, burnout is a manifestation of something, and you've got to find the root cause. My constant burnout was me. It was me. My operating system, my hardware. I had to rewire myself. I had to shut the system down and reboot it, upgrade it. And that's in short what I did. And I've never looked back. Beautiful. It was the best thing. And it took me 25 years to do that.
Amazing.
25 years.
So this is Simon 2.0, right?
6.12. There's been a few other upgrades, but I think that's life. I think that's life. I think every day is a day. I think every day you're growing. And I think every day is another upgrade. But I think you burn out when you stop upgrading and you settle. And the future is a scary place to those who are comfortable in the present. And you can't live like that. You've got to be leaning into the future and getting uncomfortable and growing. And that's what leads to, do you know what I mean? Doing what we've done, taking, and do you know what I mean? Going, connecting with new people. As you grow, everything around you needs to grow. Your environment, your social circles. The level of consciousness, the level of leadership, the business.
Absolutely. And I can definitely relate to the energetic shift from, that old world that was energetically draining for you, whether that was the wrong type of work for you or the people, etc. And then, doing actually what you love. So 100%. What I'd
love to add to that is, this is how you fix this, is you have to be honest and take ownership. my life, the way it was only that way because of me, because I'd said yes to everything. I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know my North Star. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know who I wanted to be. I let my life be dictated subconsciously and caught, like, you leave it to fate if you don't take control.
Yeah.
But when I don't like the word waking up, but when I came to the point where I was like, this is unbearable, something needs to change, and you get back into the driving wheel, that's when it starts to go. So you've got to really take full control of your life.
Yeah. I want to talk about that threshold, that because there's a point, right? So we, in the program that I run, we talk about the hero's journey, which is, you know, typical, and like a burnout story is a hero's journey, because, you know, there's the old world, and then you have to kind of like take that leap, and then you start adventuring into the new world, and there's all these like challenges and stuff until you get back, close the cycle with the elixir. So the most difficult part of that journey seems to be crossing that threshold, right? So you are in the old world, in the known. There's all your friends, your family, things that you know, habits, even though they're unhealthy, but it's comfortable, it's known. And the unknown world, you know, like you're talking about, you taking that step and venturing into the unknown. What gave you the courage? What gave you the strength to actually do that? And did you, because you talk about, like, you know, connecting with what you were meant to be doing and doing the right thing. Did you know at that point what that was? Because I know stories of lots of people who are, you know, stuck in the old world. They're not necessarily happy, but they don't know. They're like, oh, but what is my purpose? And it's hard to get, you know, excited and driven when there's so much uncertainty and the unknown in there, and plus all of the external challenges, and, you know, people need to work out the logistics. So, you know what I mean? Like, what was that like? What did help you, and how did you connect with that new you, and how did you like create that strength to be driven by it at that point?
So I'm going to tell you a story. So a caterpillar transforms into a butterfly. So a caterpillar one day realizes that there's something better. It doesn't know what. It doesn't know what not. There's just something within it that knows there is something that it needs to go and do. You know? The caterpillar then goes and effectively dies. It goes and cocoons itself, turns into mush. It sheds everything that it is, and it just does this through knowing and trust and belief. And then it has to fight to see daylight again and emerge as something new, which is the butterfly. The thing that got me through that is belief. I can never verbalize what it was, but just like the caterpillar in that story, I knew something wasn't right, but I knew there was better. Right. And I believed in it so much. And that's what allowed me to do the things. But also having the reassurance that if I went all in on this belief and acted, which I did, and it didn't work out, that somebody somewhere would have my back, which was my family, which is where that communication came from of, I'm going to do something which you might frown upon, which is leave a very successful business, leave a lot, jump around the world and go and do something. But I know I'm supposed to do this. I believe in it. And I believe in myself that this is the next step. So I really think having that form of safety net to jump from was a big thing. Right. But we all have something within us, a guidance system. There's something there, and you've got to believe in it. And this is why people succeed, is it's the belief in yourself. And at one point I didn't have it, but I had to keep asking myself the questions and keep getting the clarity, or the polarity that where I am now isn't the right place, but this, what I know is the right place. And that was really it. Really, it was just the belief that there can be a better tomorrow, and I can create that.
Beautiful.
And I can become the person to create that.
Awesome. Yes. I love it. I love it. Thank you. Love the story too.
But I think that story is, I think that sums up everything in burnout, transformation, people who are in the corporate world who know that it isn't the right thing. I think that really is it. It's something within you knows. You've got to listen to it. Yeah. You've got to you then undergo the process of change, which is the
Yeah.
hard bit,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
letting go of everything that's not working, everything that's not serving you, but then be guided by a vision of the future and believing that you are the person who can create that future. And I think that really is the hero's journey. I think that's the story of change and transformation. And then I really think you galvanize that story when you can come back and give other people the treasure, which is, do you know what? I went through this, I took this risk, it all worked out, but I can help you now.
Totally. Awesome. That's why we're here, connecting and supporting one another. Thank you so much for sharing all that. That's so powerful, really. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I'm so happy that you're being so honest, because I feel like there's so much glorification of the transformation and the self-development. And, it's all about these beautiful yoga poses, but no one talks about the shit part, the really hard part. People are scared of it. They know it's there, and it becomes these like taboo in the middle, this like blob, and like, how do we go to the other side? So I think it's important to talk about that. I appreciate
Yeah, I think that's the issue. I really think that this is why I think we're doing so well in this industry. Is the self-development industry is a mess, especially in the business startup industry. It's a mess. It's become Instagrammed and lied, and there's people who may have gone in search to free their minds, but are still trapped by their ego.
Yeah, it's just another rat race, really.
Totally,
right?
totally. This is why it's so important to make sure you've got the right people around you. You can't take advice from someone. You can't get happy advice from someone who isn't happy.
Yeah.
You can't get good business advice from a broke Instagram coach. So you've got to really get mentors. You've got to get social circles that are authentically that have lived that journey.
Totally.
And just like you said, I think the world, the landscape, which is happening now, has become, it's a highlight reel, and a lot of people aren't being honest and raw. And I actually think those brands, if they were really honest, like, you know what, I speak about this, but I still struggle with it, they'd probably have more success from just being real and relatable.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, you're so right in what you said. Everyone just thinks it's like butterflies and meadows and sunsets and yoga poses. I'm not like, the journey of transformation is hard. It's like trudging through mud, but it's the strength you going through the mud and realizing what's not helping you get through the mud, which allows you to become this person. So
yeah, and it's probably not even judging the pain and the mud, because it's it's an equal sort of sensation to joy. Like, everything has its role to play in the development and evolution.
Totally. But that's on the mindset, though. You've got to shift your mindset to be this topic's so loaded with so many different topics.
I
But
know.
it's like, are you like in the shit? Are you still able to be grateful for the opportunities and the lessons?
Yes.
And that's another thing of transformation is, do you know what I mean? Like, finding the lessons and not focusing on the shit. But what's it giving you? Like, you might have had a shit breakup, but it's given you the awareness to realize the red flags in future partners. Don't focus on the breakup, focus on the lesson. You might have bankrupted the business, but it's made you strong enough to go again and build the next one. Don't focus on the shit, focus on the lessons.
Beautiful. Yeah. You're right. Like, there's so much that, we can sort of touch on, and it's such a broad topic. And I think there will probably be a part. Yeah, maybe we do like a volume 2.
I think the topic of this conversation needs to be, what's your burnout? Don't look at everyone else's burnout, but work out what yours is.
Totally.
What's causing yours. And
absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? Work out where the root is.
Yeah, 100%. I want to go back to the question that I asked you before, but I think, we're getting to it. So I would love to end this chat we're having today with, looking at the practical tools, like, how do you actually live your day at the moment, and what are maybe some of the tools that inspired you, some of the practices, some of the modalities that you have picked up from other people. You're so surrounded by lots of inspiring people, so like, for you at the moment, like, what's the cool stuff? What's the things that really help you?
Even ready for the most uncool answer?
Oh my god, even just give me the humble and simple, because those things are usually the best. So what is it?
I've done everything. Breath work, journaling. Like, I structured my life up to be incredible, doing a million things that were for me. The real one thing which gets me in a good place is just sat down in the morning for 15 to 20 minutes, just having a coffee and thinking with no phone. And that is my thing. Things that really have helped me, and I do when I need to, breath work, meditation, all that sort of stuff. But for me, I'm a busy person. I've got a lot that I need to do. I can't afford to be spending 8 hours a day meditating, yoga, journaling, breathing, cold baths, a massage, bodyweight workouts, reflexology, salt baths. So, do you know what I mean? There's a lot that people do now.
Yeah, the stuff that I do. Sometimes.
You can spend so much time doing these things. And the biggest thing I say to people is, like, your podcast is for busy people. It's find the thing that works for you.
Yeah.
My non-negotiable is just being still for a set amount of time with a notepad in front of me and having a coffee. What am I grateful for today? What have I done? Does something need to change? Do I have a should-have list? Because usually a should-have list is someone's actionable to-do list, which has got fear around it, which is what they're not doing. I should have done this. Your should-haves are the things that will move you forwards the most in life. So
what does that give you, this practice that you're talking about? Like, what's the biggest benefit of it? Like, what
gives me clarity, stillness. Like, if I suddenly in that moment, I'm like, do you know what? Like, I feel like I need breath work. I need to go a little bit more stiller today. I need to, so it allows me to be momentary. I get to, like, tune in. How do I feel? What's going to work today? A bit like, oh, a bit stiff. A massage would be great today. So it allows me to plan my day off how I am, instead of structuring my day. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because the issue is in the self-development world, people have so many things to do that when they don't do them, their positive habits are now, they feel guilty and shameful for not being able to go to yoga, for being able to meditate, and they beat themselves up about it. So my life has become very free and momentary. It's, I know the work I need to do that day, but I've got set periods of time where I allow myself to feel. And I allow myself to feel in the morning. So I trained yesterday, feel a little bit stiff. Okay, maybe today, cold bath meditation. Feel a little bit unclear. I've got a lot of things I need to think about to move XYZ project forwards in myself. Okay, maybe I'm going to meditate today and do some breath work. So,
so let's say, okay, let's say you're having that moment in the morning, and then it occurs that, oh, actually, I have these 3 calls scheduled for later this morning, but I'm really not in a mindset, in a position to do them. Would you cancel them? What'd you do?
2 things. Depends on the call. I'm a businessman, straight to the point. To be honest, I'm not a person. If it's something that can't be rearranged, look, you can change your state. You can change your state. You have the power immediately to go, boom, no, wake the fuck up, go.
Yeah.
Like, awesome. There's no excuse. So I really have to be like, I have to be at a point where something's happened or something's booked in, and there's more than just, it's not how I feel. Because you can change how you feel through your psychology in a moment and in a second. It's
totally.
Yeah, do you see where I'm going with this? So there's no, it's like a call, like, for example, we were discussing that. So basically, in short, what happened when we rearranged was we just done a week launch. Then it was a case of, no, I'm actually getting physically exhausted. So then I was at a point where maybe state changing isn't quite as effective. And then obviously I ended up going away. So it was more to the point of, like, the time's not going to fit in here.
Yeah.
But we can rearrange. It was a rearrangeable thing. But I also said at the same time, look, if this is the only time slot you've done, I can show up. So that's the big thing is, like, you've just got to know where things are. I think canceling and rearranging is good, but I think as well, if you're an entrepreneur or someone in business, I think when you allow yourself to be, people's feelings fuck them over. I really do believe that. I think you've got to be in tune. I think you've got to be aware. I think you've got to understand that to achieve something, there is going to be a level of some discomfort, but at the same time, knowing that some degree of success requires some form of discomfort, and just showing up is the big thing, but not showing up to the point where it kills you. And we mentioned something which drives me a little bit crazy is balance. People think of balance. Like, life is a balancing act. It's not balance and static. things are going to move up, things are going to move down. Balance is fluidity in things. So if you're someone who's going out there to achieve something great, your balance is going to be biased because you're going to be here more in business, but you need to be doing more of the things that are smart, short time, and effective, that keep you being able to push it back so you can go again.
Totally.
So yeah.
Find your unique recipe for sure.
Find your unique recipe, yeah. But that's the big thing. It's knowing yourself.
Brilliant. Yeah. How did you develop this? Like, is it intuition, or like what part of your body are you talking to? Like, how did you even arrive at that? Like, I guess that's my last question in terms of like, how did you find it attunement with your body, going from the ignorance to like, yes, I'm going to listen to my inner, what is that even for you?
You get snapped, don't you? If you don't listen to the universe, you get snapped in the face. So for me, it's a few breakdowns have led to me being forced to listen, is point number one. But then I'm curious. I'm curious to try things. I never used to be. I'm like, yeah, I want to go do breath work. No, I want to go and do yoga. Right. Oh, there's some static thing happening. I'm going to go and try that because I'm a student. I want to learn things. And do you know what I mean? Like when you're open-minded and curious, you learn things. It's like, oh, shit. Awesome. Like ecstatic dance, people are so close to it. I'm like, look, if you're learning to connect with your body, like, why is that so hard for you? What's going on in your mind that stops? So you've got to be curious to find the things that work for you and learn the lessons, because wherever there's resistance, there's a lesson and there's a red flag. If you can't just be free and move around without worrying about other people, then there's something there that's going to prevent you getting on a live stream and speaking in front of people, which is actually your dream. There's going to be something in that expression exercise which is going to stop you being able to write a book. So I've kind of just got myself into a position in life, and I said to you, it's like, how do you want to? You said to me, how do you want to describe yourself? I'm like a human guinea pig or a life enthusiast.
Yeah.
I like to go and find the difficult things because I know on all of those difficult things there's a lesson, and I bring it in. Like, this is my life. This is what I'm trying to do. This is where I'm going. How can I take those lessons and either heal something or amplify something or fix something or be aware of something that might trip me up in the future?
I love that.
Everything connects, everything leaves clues, and everything has a ripple and an echo. And you've got to really, like, it's such a big topic. It's such a big topic stemming from, like, you've got to really understand these things.
Yeah. There's just so much wealth and learning from it. Yeah, totally. I think that's why it's important that we, having these conversations. So amazing.
Like, a lot of people, you don't just get this overnight as well. Like
it takes years. I mean,
14 years in and I've still got shit to do. Like, I've been doing this for 14 years and this has been 14 years of awareness, journaling work and stuff, but I've still got stuff to do. And that's what I was trying to say before. It's not Simon 2.0, it's probably Simon 80.6. You've got to keep going and upgrading and building, because the whole world's moving forwards. And unfortunately, if you stay still, you don't just stay still at where you are, because the world's still moving forwards. If you stay still, you actually end up backwards. So you gotta keep going. You got to keep working yourself out and working out like what works and what doesn't.
Absolutely. That's awesome. And it's just so inspiring seeing, what you're doing and the amount of impact that you're creating and bringing to the world. So thank you so much for being such an inspiration. It's really, really cool.
Yeah. I hope this conversation's been one of those where it's like, you just come in it with a shotgun, but there's got to be something in there which can genuinely help people, I think. You know what I mean?
No, I think it's like, topic. Yeah, it's a big topic, and it's very honest. And, I think I definitely don't want to be like putting people up on a pedestal just because they, achieved XYZ or have gone through a burnout. I think we're always learning. As you said, we all are students, and we are learning together. Like, we mirror to one another as well. And I think that's where the wealth is, just really sharing the stories. This is why, I told you that I came up with this title for this project. It's BurnOut Heroes, because it's about the people, and it's about, the positive effect of the burnout, and the learning that it brings to you. It's not necessarily about solving a problem or overcoming a disease. It's all about just being human and having a conversation, and it is a long process. So I wish, you know, at the time when I went through mine, like I could talk to someone about this. I didn't even know I had a burnout. And then, you know, like how can we create something that people can refer to, and you're just a real person. So thanks.
Totally,
Awesome.
totally. If there's one thing I'd like to end on, and I think there's so much truth in this. And I was reflecting the other day. I was just sat down and I was like, holy shit, this is so true. Human beings are the only thing on this planet which is not in comfort or disorientated in its environment. Human beings are disorientated in their environment. And I really think a big thing with burnout and this topic is becoming aware of your environment. And I really think that's the cause of a lot of
huge.
this.
Yes. That might be partially an answer to my last question I wanted to ask you. Yeah, so because of the spin of the, you know, like I'm trying to bring out this positivity out of burnout, and this is a grand learning that you just mentioned. What's your superpower, or what is that revealing sort of realization for you that burnout specifically helped you achieve or put you in a place for, or, you know, whether that is even your podcast, like what would you say is the biggest effect of the burnout on your life specifically? What was that biggest learning? Or
do you know what I think depression and suppression are a lack of expression. So I think in burnout isn't an expression. You're not expressing yourself.
Awesome.
I'm not happy with this. I'm not happy in my life. I'm not happy in this relationship. I'm not expressing movement and being healthy because that's what I love. I really think for me, the biggest message in that was that I was playing small. I was playing quiet. I'm a speaker and a connector. And then I love to travel the world. And that's who I am at my core.
Hell yes. I love that. That's amazing. That's awesome.
I think that was the biggest lesson was, the biggest lesson was coming home, really. I think I'm so grateful for burnout and having big breakdowns and stuff like that, for the simple fact that it made me remember who I was, because I'd gone through a life of gymnastics and stuff like that. And I forgot I was being validated by everyone. I was being the athlete and all that sort of stuff. I never knew who I was. So it brought me home. So I'm grateful for it. And it taught me to express myself, not in a gymnastic sense, but using what I've got, my voice, my gifts. And
beautiful. Thank you, Simon. That melts my heart. So cool. Thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time. I'm going to let you go, Steph.
Oh yeah. Boom.
You say you were so much in the moment.
Yeah, I just love talking, but that's my issue. I say I'm going to go off again. I'm going to go off. The things where you lose track of time are red flags of the things that you are. Like a child playing a toy set will lose time because they want to play, they want to connect. Do you know what I mean? So I always think like that's always a good red flag of where you should be doing or what you should be putting your energy into. For me, it's speaking to people.
Absolutely.
Speak to people for ages.
You're in a flow, like when you do it, like you just, that's your medicine. Like that's who you are. So yeah.
It's the healing. Do you not think like when you get to speak about these things, it helps you because again, it's expression allows you to get it out, to make sense of it and be okay with it.
Yeah. We're only healing ourselves, you know, we're supporting one another, but you know, at the end of the day, we're just helping ourselves to get it out there. So totally. Yeah. So thank you this is like a free therapy session we're giving to one another. It's really good.
Yeah, it is. Walking each other home.
Oh, love it. So good. Thank you so much. This has been really cool. Thanks, you.
Abby.
Yeah. Amazing.